Never rush to judge someone's wisdom, just because their answer is not what you expected. A long time ago, in a prosperous kingdom, there was a high-ranking official known for his extraordinary intelligence. He was not only the king's right-hand man, but also the one who always found the right solution whenever the royal court fell into crisis. His brilliance and foresight earned the king's deep respect, to the point that the king would never make any major decision without first seeking his advice. However, that very trust and admiration also sparked envy among some members of the court. Whispers began to spread. Many were waiting for the day this official would make a mistake, just so they could tarnish his reputation. One morning, during a royal assembly, the king suddenly turned to the official and said with a faint smile, "You are truly intelligent, but it is a shame that your son is such a fool. He does not understand anything." The official was taken aback. A lump formed in his throat. Bowing his head respectfully, he asked, "Your Majesty, may I ask why you judge my son that way?" The king replied, his tone laced with sarcasm, "Every morning, when I go to the market in disguise, your son is always there. I often test his intelligence with a simple question: which is more valuable, gold or silver? And strangely enough, every time he answers, silver." Laughter rippled through the hall. Some officials covered their mouths to stifle their giggles. Others shook their heads in mock sympathy. The official stood silently, feeling as if the entire court was laughing at his dignity. He left the assembly early that day and returned home. When he saw his son, he spoke sternly, "Tell me, which metal is more valuable, gold or silver?" Without hesitation, the son replied, "Gold, of course, father." The official frowned, his confusion deepening. "If you know gold is more valuable, why do you keep answering incorrectly in front of the king?" And this was where the truth began to unfold. The young man looked at his father calmly and gently said, "Every morning, when the king leaves the palace and passes by me at the market, he stops. He places 2 coins in my hands, 1 gold and 1 silver, and asks, 'Which one do you think is more valuable?'" He paused for a moment, smiling as if recalling those mornings, then continued, "I always pick the silver coin, not because I do not know that gold is more valuable, but because I do know. If I pick gold and say what everyone already knows, the game will end immediately. The king will stop asking, and I will no longer receive anything." The father was still not entirely convinced. He pressed further. "So you deliberately answer wrong just to keep playing that little game? That has made the entire court believe you are stupid, even insulting your father in the process." The son did not get angry. He did not try to defend himself either. Instead, he quietly stood up, went into his room, and returned with a small wooden box. He carefully opened it and placed it in front of his father. Inside were hundreds of shiny silver coins, neatly arranged like a secret treasure. "These are the silver coins I received from the king, 1 each day," he said. "I do not have to do anything except keep the game going. All I have to do is choose silver over gold," and he laughs, then walks away. The father's eyes widened. A strange mix of emotions rushed through him: awe, confusion, and a hint of shame. The court had mocked him, thinking his son was a fool. But the truth? The boy had seen what no one else noticed, not even his father, a man once revered as the wisest in the kingdom. The son looked up at him with a warm voice. "Father, the king does not need anyone to teach him the difference between gold and silver. What he wants is someone who can make him smile every morning. That is what I do. Not with clever words, but by playing the fool just enough to amuse him. I do not need to prove I am right. I only need to keep the game going. 1 silver coin a day, over time, is worth more than 1 correct answer." The father fell silent. For years he had served in court, praised for his brilliance. Yet now, his so-called foolish son had taught him a powerful lesson about foresight, the art of silence at the right time, and the wisdom of knowing what truly matters. Out there, the world is quick to judge based on appearances, on right or wrong answers, or on instant brilliance. But sometimes in silence lies the most enduring and profound strategy. And while the entire court laughed at him, the only person who truly understood the game was the son everyone had dismissed. When the small wooden box closed, the old official said nothing. But something inside him had shifted. He no longer looked at his son with the eyes of a disappointed father. Instead, he saw a seasoned man reminded that true wisdom does not always come wrapped in eloquence. Sometimes, it hides behind intentional silence. From that day on, he was no longer bothered by gossip or ridicule about his son. Those words no longer held any weight, because he now knew that real wisdom needs no proof, and reputation never defines a person's true worth. When someone asked, "Why do you let people call your son a fool?" he simply smiled and replied, "They laugh because they do not understand, but a truly wise person would never waste time explaining to someone who does not wish to listen." My friend, maybe in your life too, there will be moments when you are misunderstood, labeled as different, foolish, or even crazy. But if you know exactly what you are doing, if you have reasons others cannot see, then their judgment means nothing. This world has a strange habit. It often laughs at things it cannot understand. But the truth is, some people choose silence, not because they have nothing to say, but because they do not need to be loud to be right. They know real value is not in public praise, but in patience, foresight, and doing what is right, even if no one notices. So if you are living with integrity, planting seeds of kindness, walking a quiet path for something greater than yourself, do not be afraid of being misunderstood. Do not worry if someone calls you foolish. Just smile, like the boy in the story. Because sometimes the wisest thing we can do is let others think we are fools, while quietly building a treasure with our so-called foolishness. And if this story gave you something, a lesson, a smile, or even just a small reflection, do not hesitate to share it. Because maybe someone out there also needs to be reminded that you do not need to be understood to know you are doing the right thing.